Yo, what's good? You already know I'm KenWal. I post open world video game news, superhero games, and video essays where I go deeper into other gaming topics. That's where I like to get all nerdy and really break down the business decisions behind the games that we're getting. That's my video essays. I just love talking about video games, just plain and simple.
So how did you even get started with that? Obviously, you mentioned gaming news, and I know when I was growing up, my news was gaming form. I was getting the subscriptions and all of it.
Going to GameStop and they go, "Hey, you want to sign up for it?" I'm not saying this as in a bad thing, but it was an unfortunate pivot I had to switch to. So in the beginning, when I was probably a sophomore in high school. Me and my boy, we were always up till like 3 o'clock playing Destiny. And this was, of course, when YouTube started booming. You started seeing channels like you could just look up anything you want and then go down a rabbit hole. So I was like, yo, I really enjoy playing video games. I'm not doing nothing. Me and my friend were like, yo, let's actually do something productive. We're seeing the money these guys are making. So we're like, all right, bet, let's go create a channel. So we both start just doing our own thing. Like we both are talking about what we're going to do together. And then when we actually do it, we just go in completely different directions. So what I start doing is I start really, it was like a kind of like a rant. It was more discussion kind of video. So it could be about skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty, right? Okay. And then it could be about what Xbox's showcase, what's Xbox going on with. So the issue that I was having because I was new was actually getting people to watch my content. Like, why would you come instead of, I get it, it's a discussion, but it's more opinion based. If you're not really rocking with my opinions, then why would you be coming?
And that clout thing.
And you have to, not unfortunately, but that's just comes with failure. When you're failing, you just start to learn. So I was like, all right, this isn't really getting that much attention. Let's go down the rabbit hole of how to get viewers and subscribers. So it was like, all right, you got to find your niche. So that's when I was like, you know what? I like what your interviews were doing, and that's why I really liked your interviews with the technical people, the people that are in the industry. But I like seeing how the food gets made. I like seeing the background because that's important. That's how you know the product you're gonna get. No matter what. And then what fascinates me is like, it's like when it comes to the video game process, it's so complicated because there's so many people. Like the credit section is unbelievable with how many the teams, and then you have the localization. You have like there's so many moving parts with this product that it's crazy to believe that we've been getting this consistently each year. So I like going into that and seeing that, like, because with me, when this was going on, a lot of microtransactions were happening. Live service was going on. I was like, man, like, I don't like these games. Like, why are these games getting promoted? So with me, when something starts to frustrate me, I gotta find a reason behind. Like, they're not just doing this because they like pissing us off. So that's why I thought it was, all right, let me pivot to this. Actually, before I pivoted to just console news. So I was just posting about Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation. But then I start to notice that, like, with school, a job, I'm like, holy crap, covering all three, covering one is already
a full-time job.
Mountain. It's already a mountain. How am I going to cover the rest of them? So I was like, all right, let me niche down again. So I was like, you know what, let me not do the console stuff. Let me do open world games. Let me do the games that I'm specifically doing. And that's when I started covering I do a lot of CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft games. I try not to do the very big very big ones, like, of course, the GTAs, because that's already saturated. They're not going to be really looking for me. So I like to do those games where Of course, the algorithm. I'm looking at the algorithm and the competition's medium in terms of volume and competition. So that those are the games I like to focus on, and then the superhero games. Of course, this is just I added that one in because that's just throwing shit at the wall. So I go, all right, they're open world, and then I put it out, and I'm like, oh, it performed well. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. The indie scene, that's the great thing. It's always the most creative, and it's to me, I think it's still very healthy and strong when it comes to the indie games, because they're the ones. A lot of the games like Lethal Company that came out of nowhere. That's just blowing up, and there's plenty games that are like that. So, like you said, it's really great that we have that still, because we're this industry gaming in terms of creativity, it won't die.
Yeah.
We'll always get creative new things.
Speaking of creative new things, as far as game, what have you been covering here most recently? What is something that like you here in the most recent past that has been kind of exciting, has kind of like gotten a rise out of people? Like what have you kind of been hearing sort of on your side of the spectrum?
Okay, so there's a very interesting game called Everywhere. I don't know if you heard of it.
I haven't.
It's by the developers are called Build a Rocket Boy, and it was founded by Leslie Benzies. He is the former producer of the GTA series, and he was the mastermind behind GTA Online. He was probably the lead person behind GTA Online. So the dude's a vet. Like he knows what he's doing. And this game is basically Fortnite. It's Fortnite and Roblox. And it's trying to be what Fortnite and Roblox are going to be in probably the next 10 years. So Everywhere is a hub online game where it's described as Ready Player One. So you have these hub worlds that you could go in, and for right now, they have team deathmatch, racing, a DJ room. They plan to expand things like you could have there's like an art gallery room, there's a theater room where you can watch movies. That's their plan. But right now, what they're testing, because they're finally in beta, they're testing their team deathmatch, their creator mode, and racing. So like Fortnite and Roblox has, you could create, you know how players can create maps and game modes and all that stuff. They already have that implemented. But the thing that I find really cool that they're also doing is, hey, you don't like that kind of stuff? That's fine. We got a whole single player AAA experience for you, where the game, so the creative, fun multiplayer stuff looks colorful, more reminiscent of Fortnite, Roblox, you feel me? But then the single player experience looks like a legit standalone AAA game. So
you don't get a lot.
Did you play Mafia 3?
I did.
So the main character is that actor. So it's called Mind's Eye, the single player mode, and it's fully open world, graphical fidelity, you know, that type of stuff. So I've gotten a lot of my followers were paying attention to like, whoa, what is this? So I think it has a lot of potential because of what it's trying to do. And again, it's by the guy who created the GTA series. He was there from day one, Leslie Benzies.
I mean, it's kind of like a combination of a lot of games.
Yeah, it's a combination. Because that's why I see Fortnite and especially Fortnite. I see Fortnite going this direction that Everywhere is going to go, where I think they are going to add single player type of modes to the game where you could just go through the hub and then just go and just play a completely separate experience from Fortnite.
Right. So what's your opinion on that? Like, as far as like games in general, I guess the direction kind of being led by dollars instead of sort of like the experience. Like what is sort of like, how do you see the industry continuing? How do you see it as far as where we are now? Obviously, these games are going to get more and more expensive. As players, we're going to expect more and more. What's your opinion on how games are being made these days?
I think as consumers, we need better information when it comes to how these games get made and why we're getting charged for this price. Because like that helps us with our decision if we're going to buy a game or not. It goes back to an interview from Sean Layden, the ex-PlayStation CEO. He really put the spotlight on it. He was saying that each generation, the cost to make a game is doubling. And when it was the PlayStation 4 generation, games were getting to a price where they were $200 million to make. And that's a lot of money. If that's for the PlayStation 4, what the hell is it going to be like with the Series X? Exactly. So what the hell is it going to be? And nothing's getting it. Going back to what he's saying is the games are getting more expensive, but when you look at consoles themselves, the console base is only I think my number, it could be a little bit off, but I think it's only 275 million to 290 million players. So think about it, like since the PlayStation 2, it hasn't grown.
Right.
That's the console that sold the most. We haven't seen that. And I don't think we ever will, because consoles cost money. It's a barrier to entry in and of itself. So
and I think it's got more competition now too. I mean,
exactly. So let's relate it back to the conversation we just having about Fortnite. So with these games that have come, these live service games, they really broke the mold because they took what the mobile market was doing and then put it with the console. So now you have these live service games where these companies are finding out, hey, people don't play that many games as we thought. So let's just devote all our time into this. And now you're seeing these games across all platforms just swallowing up all the consumers, and then especially when you get to the point where you're just printing money, like Fortnite is just, it's printing money. It's crazy. So when you can do stuff like that, and then but you compare it to, hey, a single player game. Let's look at Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was, I think they said that was upwards of 250 million. Yeah, it sold well. It got its money back, but how much money could they have made?
Right.
You feel me? Like that's the problem. Like, especially for me, I'm a single player guy. I like these single player games. And it's not that single player games aren't gonna stop being made. It's just the rate, the type of risk they make with single player games is just not gonna happen anymore because they're so expensive now. Like your single player, it's gotta be really good because you're not just competing with other single player games, you're competing with the live service games. So now you got to make sure your game is not too long, but it's long enough because you don't want people like tuning out. So it's just it's more difficult. But at the end of the day, it really goes back to the games are becoming very expensive. And then there's of course, you topple that with the economy, the acquisitions. So when a game does bad, then everybody does bad. Then there's layoffs. Look at Microsoft. With them buying Activision Blizzard, they're one of the top corporations. They're printing money themselves, but they're not. Hey, you spent $70 billion, bro. You're not immune to that. So now they have to put their games on multi-platform because their console's not selling. They're not getting money from that. So it's complicated, but the industry, I think it will, in a couple years, it will get better. There will be less layoffs, but not right now because every industry, music, movies,
it's all just blowing up. It's about to blow up and start over. I just think we're just in a transition period, really. I think, you know what I'm saying? I think we're just in a time where we just kind of have to wait it out and see what the next technologies are.
This really is like post-COVID. And like we're still seeing how things are playing out. Like everyone's thinking, oh, all right, 2021. It's like a changed world. Like, this is truly 2020 was truly the beginning of, hey, that old shit. Nah, we're not going back to that.
Now let's kind of shift gears. How did you get your start on like these different platforms and knowing what you wanted to do? How did you sort of set out in doing that, the practical standpoints of YouTube was kind of young when you kind of got started. How did you start into branching into now where like obviously you got YouTube, Twitch, Kick, all these different places to put content?
So it was my biggest advice to anybody is if they're ever thinking about doing it, don't think, just do it. Just do it. You have nothing to lose. Everyone thinks it's like, all right, my first video's got to be it. It's gonna hit. They're like, nah, it's not gonna hit. No one's gonna see. No one's gonna see your first video. Trust me. You have to be the luckiest person.
I hear they're not gonna see your first like 100.
Yeah, your first 100 videos. So it's like I remember my first video that reached 115. I was going crazy. I was going crazy, bro. I was like, yo, we in there. But nah, just do it. And the way I learned was I just recorded myself. I had a video in mind, recorded myself, and then when I got the editing software, I just went to YouTube and just followed a tutorial, started doing it. Like it's really that simple. You just have to do it because the more you think about it, then it's just going to slow you down. So when it comes to the technical stuff like editing, that's how I learned. It's just I wanted to create more videos, a lot more videos as much as possible, and then just learn the editing software. Just keep doing it over and over again. So that's how I first learned when it came to uploading on YouTube. I started on YouTube. Then I actually heard about Facebook, what Facebook was doing. So then I started uploading on Facebook. But Facebook, I've found out of all the platforms, the most odd platform when it comes to posting. But then TikTok came around, and that was by far the biggest one. That still to this day I have my most viewed video on TikTok that reached 2.8 million. And I have 17.8K followers on TikTok because the organic reach was wild. And it felt like, because like, I went down that rabbit hole. Of course, when you try new things, of course, when there's a new platform, don't hesitate. Take your old stuff. Don't even create new content for it. Take your old stuff and just simply put it on it. Just start uploading, because that's what I did with TikTok. And it blew me up. It literally blew me up. And then when I started just going down it, just uploading more, that's when it just started blowing up. I started seeing a lot more traction, and the algorithm, I was keeping up to date with the algorithm, and that's something I really underestimated, which is a little bit unfortunate, especially when it comes to creativity. If you're trying to do this YouTube content creation now, we're kind of past, no, we're not kind of, we're past those days. You got to be very tactical. You got to be very smart with what you put out. And I'm not saying that you kill all your creativity of what you're trying to do in that video, but what your goal and the timing of that video that you're going to put out, you really want to keep in mind, because it'll be a waste of time. Timing is very crucial these days when it comes to social media. So that's it. I would just say do it, try new platforms, and do a lot of it.
You talked about timing, but also keeping the timing in mind. But you also got to know that you're competing with, however many. How do you sort of differentiate?
Yeah, for me now, because what's made things a little easier since I made this pivot to open world games, superhero games, and video essays, is for the most part, when news breaks, I got something quick, easy video. When news is not breaking, I can do a recap. You feel me? I could do a recap of let's say, so I uploaded a video about Assassin's Creed Shadows. When I'm not getting news on Assassin's Creed Shadows and other games, I post everything we know about Assassin's Creed Shadows, just to keep people still in the loop, make sure that I'm fulfilling that niche of Assassin's Creed. Then just rinse and repeat. Next game, okay, CD Projekt Red is working on The Witcher 4. Let's put out a Witcher 4 video. Let's put out I recently played The Witcher 2. that's connected. So now I'm gonna have a video ready when Witcher 4 comes out, where it's like, let's try Witcher 2. Because people are gonna go, oh, there's a Witcher 2. Well, let me get excited for the Witcher 4. It's like boom, so stuff like that. TikTok, that's a lot more easier because I find that I have a lot more fun with that one because I can talk about other gaming news that I like to talk about. So PlayStation just comes out with something, I can divulge more and put more of my expertise into the video. So I put out the news, what the news is on, and then I elaborate more. So I feel like I'm being more helpful via the TikTok videos because it's striking more with the consumers' wallets when it comes to the. But when it comes to the new platforms, I know with particularly with where I'm at in life, with the job and just handling other things, I've got to think more, again, going back to strategically about being consistent and how to be consistent with the schedule that I have. So obviously, a lot of these big YouTubers, they have teams. They have people that do the editing, all of that. So with me, I try to at least put out 5 pieces of content each week. That doesn't mean just YouTube. That doesn't mean just TikTok. Just all together of what I'm on. Just keep my presence alive and be consistent with that. I know now that I've got a new job, I've got to really start getting the ball rolling with my stream, because with a stream, you have a whole bunch, you got over an hour of content that you can upload and then use efficiently down the line. Like you could say something that doesn't even apply in the first month, but then news comes out of nowhere, and then you could just piggyback off of that. So I got to really get the ball moving on my stream, because when it comes to the videos take a long time. My videos are usually about 6 to 10 minutes. So that takes me about, I would say, a full day to edit that.
That's probably the hardest parts for me, and that's why the big YouTubers, they stream so much, is because they got to keep that, keep it hot. But that consistency, and then just navigating the schedule.
Now, to answer your first question, the esports. I don't cover anything esports as much anymore. I did a few videos on it. I'm definitely interested because I felt like there was a really big boom about it, and now pretty consistent. I know for me personally, when it comes to competitive gaming, I love the fighting game community. I saw you have, of course, before you mentioned that you interviewed a lot of esports people. To me, esports it's definitely growing. I still don't know if it could compete with traditional main sports due to, again, going back to the viewing. Like, I watch basketball, football constantly. And for the most part, you could see what is happening constantly. That's why I think fighting game translates very well, because you see the two fighters on the screen and you're seeing them frame by frame. But with Call of Duty, Overwatch, the switching, you could miss out on a very key detail that sets up the collateral or the double kill. You switch that. I think the switching for me, I think, is gonna apprehend a lot of people. But I'm interested to see of how they are going to develop esports.
As somebody who's going to be covering these games and sort of covering these things, like, what is your opinion on like the next, or like the future of gaming, like the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what are you foreseeing? Like, what are you excited for as far as it pertains to your channel and kind of how you're going to be covering things?
So let me first talk about the games. I'm so excited to see what the big 3 are going to do, because Xbox has positioned themselves as a leech pretty much. If PlayStation and Nintendo are doing bad, well, Xbox can't afford for PlayStation and Nintendo to do bad, because they need their games to be on their platform. So I think that's very interesting, and I want to know how they're going to bolster Game Pass, because I was really wrong with how I projected Game Pass to go. I really underestimated how tough of a position Xbox is in to make that work. So I'm interested to see how they're going to pull enough subscribers for Game Pass to just work in the way that we all intended it to work. Basically, every few months there's a big title on it, and when there's not a big title, there's just constantly solid games being uploaded. So I want to see if they're going to be able to pull that off, especially with this multi-platform strategy. When it comes to Sony, I want to know what Sony's going to pivot to, like how these live service games are going to do for them. So we know Sony's going to take some L's. Everybody is taking their L's when it comes to chasing live service. So I'm fine with that. And I want to know how Sony is going to approach multi-platform, because we already see that they're doing it. And that's what I like about Sony. They're very cognizant of what they have to do. They're not as strict as Nintendo when it comes to the console. I do think at some point that is going to backfire Nintendo, but not right now. Nintendo's eating up.
I think they have the legacy factor.
Yeah,
I think they'll be all right.
They'll be all right. Right now with Nintendo, my only concern is the Switch 2. I'm excited to see what they're going to put on the Switch 2. And I want to know if they're okay. Well, clearly they're going to be okay. They're going to be making a whole ton of money. But usually Nintendo, they do like to do stuff that is just not like, we didn't see it coming.
Right.
Like when you look at GameCube to the Wii, like the Wii sold crazy, and with like the controller, they're always trying new things. And you go from the Wii and the Wii U to the Switch, which is more of a homage to them being a portable, they're handhelds. That's their bread and butter. And to see the Switch 2 be more of a PlayStation 4 to a PlayStation 5, that's interesting for Nintendo, because they don't do a lot of things that are quote unquote safe. They swing for the fences. So it's going to be interesting to see Nintendo being more traditional like their competition, which they don't usually do. So that's what I'm excited for. When it comes to the channel, I definitely want to get back into doing more of my video essays, because I feel like I provide more insights in the gaming industry to my viewers. And again, I like explaining things so that people aren't surprised when things happen. Again, all right, I didn't know what the next Xbox. I would advise someone to buy the next Xbox, because you should get a PlayStation because their games are coming over. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you love the Xbox controller, you love Xbox ecosystem, hey, it's your money, do your thing. But if you're coming to me, asking me, I'm like, hey, I think you should buy a PlayStation, because you got most of the games, you got the exclusives on PlayStation, and you'll get the Xbox exclusives eventually. You'll have to wait, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what I like to do. I'm not trying to tell people to, I'm not trying to control people's wallets, but I do want to make them more cognizant. So it's like, it's not some internet outrage where like when Xbox announced that they were going multi-platform, it's like, I don't want to be that guy, but you didn't see that coming. Like, I want to be helpful that way, where, I was prepping you for this. I don't want this to come out of left field.
So everybody can find you, drop the social, everything you connected to, so everybody can make sure that they can find you properly.
First and foremost, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Definitely got to do this again, play some games, especially that NCAA, that facts. But everyone, thank you for viewing. You could find me on YouTube KenWal, KenWal. You can find me on YouTube again, KenWal. I'm also on TikTok. That's where I post more general game news. I also live stream on TikTok. You could also find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you're going to be getting a lot more business insights in the gaming industry. It's not going to be announcements per se. It's not going to be like, hey, they got Assassin's Creed got new gameplay. It's going to be more, hey, layoffs, this is happening. This new studio was just created. I use LinkedIn to connect more with actual game workers, people in the gaming industry. Those are my main three for right now. I think I'm going to be live streaming on YouTube. So you can find me, KenWal, on all of them. All of them, it's KenWal.
All of them. Games